The photograph looked real. Painfully real. A beautiful black woman stood beside an unfamiliar man inside the luxurious lobby of one of Seoul's most exclusive hotels. The distance between them was small. The angle was perfect. The lighting was perfect. Even the timing seemed impossible to argue with. And beside the photograph sat screenshots of messages. Messages that appeared intimate. Messages that suggested secret meetings. Messages that could destroy a marriage. By the time the evidence reached the family mansion, outrage had already spread through every room. His mother slammed the folder onto the table. His sister demanded immediate divorce. His relatives whispered among themselves with barely hidden satisfaction. Everyone waited for one reaction. The reaction of the most feared man in the room. The Korean Mafia boss. The man who controlled corporations worth billions. The man whose enemies trembled when his name appeared on a phone screen. The man who loved his wife more than anyone realized. Everyone expected fury. Instead, he simply looked at the photograph, turned another page, read every message, then quietly closed the folder. His expression never changed. His voice remained calm. His eyes revealed nothing. And for a long moment, nobody understood why. Because what none of them knew was that 15 minutes before the photograph had been taken, his wife had been sitting across from him, laughing, holding his hand, sharing dessert, inside a private restaurant located 3 blocks away. He knew exactly where she had been. He knew exactly who she had spoken to. And the moment he saw the photograph, he recognized something else. Someone inside his own family had created it. Someone wanted his wife gone. Someone had spent months planning this. So instead of defending her immediately, he decided to wait, to watch, to let them believe their trap had worked. Because sometimes the fastest way to expose a liar was allowing them enough rope to expose themselves. And what happens next changes everything. If you love Korean billionaire romance and mafia love stories like this, subscribe now to @Physial_Threads and turn on notifications so you never miss our next story. The story began 4 years earlier. Long before photographs. Long before accusations. Long before betrayal entered the mansion. Back then, Seoul was simply another city to Naya Adebayo. A woman whose quiet confidence often made people underestimate her. She possessed a rare kind of beauty. Not because she chased attention, but because she never needed it. Her dark skin glowed naturally. Her smile appeared only when genuine. And her eyes carried a depth that made people feel seen. She had arrived in Korea on a cultural scholarship. Her dream was simple. Build a career. Create a life. Make her late grandmother proud. Nothing more. Nothing less. She never planned on meeting the most powerful man in the city. And she certainly never planned on marrying him. At the time, Kang Min-jae was already a legend. Publicly, he was known as a billionaire CEO. Privately, he controlled a vast criminal empire hidden behind layers of legitimate business. People feared him. Employees respected him. Competitors avoided him. And emotionally, he remained untouchable. Years of betrayal had convinced him that love was simply another transaction. Women wanted status. Investors wanted influence. Relatives wanted access to power. Everyone wanted something. Nobody wanted him. At least that was what he believed. Until the day he met Naya. Ironically, their first meeting was a disaster. Rain poured heavily across Seoul that evening. Traffic filled every road. Pedestrians rushed beneath umbrellas. And Naya found herself trapped outside a bookstore after missing the last bus. She stood beneath a narrow awning. Cold, tired, and annoyed. A black luxury vehicle stopped nearby. The rear door opened. A tall man stepped out. Expensive suit. Sharp features. Unreadable expression. The kind of man people immediately moved aside for. Unfortunately for him, Naya didn't recognize him. And when he accidentally splashed water onto her shoes while stepping from the vehicle, she glared. What was that? Min-jae stopped. Few people spoke to him that way. Almost nobody challenged him. Yet this stranger looked genuinely irritated. Not intimidated. Not impressed. Just irritated. You ruined my shoes. He glanced downward, then back at her. For the first time in years, he nearly smiled. Nearly. Instead, he removed a business card. Offered it to her. Send me the bill. Naya stared, then folded the card, placed it back into his hand, and said something nobody had ever dared say. I don't need your money. I need people to watch where they're walking. Then she left. Min-jae watched her disappear into the rain. And for reasons he couldn't explain, he remembered her. Weeks later they met again. Then again. Then again. Until coincidence stopped feeling accidental. And slowly something unexpected began forming between them. Not attraction at first. Respect. The rarest thing in Min Jae's world. Naya never treated him like a billionaire. Never treated him like a celebrity. Never cared about power. When he bought expensive gifts, she preferred handmade ones. When he reserved exclusive restaurants, she suggested local cafes. When everyone else tried impressing him, she challenged him. The more time they spent together, the more dangerous their connection became. Because for the first time in years, Min Jae was happy, truly happy, and happiness terrified him. What he didn't know was that danger was already approaching. His family noticed everything, especially his younger sister, Kang Soo-min. Beautiful, intelligent, and deeply possessive. At first she dismissed Naya entirely. A temporary distraction. Nothing more. But months passed. Then a year. And Min Jae's feelings only deepened. The realization disturbed her. Because in Soo-min's mind, the future of their family should remain within their social circle. Wealthy, influential, Korean, controlled. Naya represented everything she disliked. An outsider, independent, unpredictable, and impossible to manipulate. When Min Jae announced his engagement, the mansion erupted. His mother objected immediately. Relatives complained privately. Business partners expressed concern. But Min Jae ignored everyone. Because for once, his decision belonged solely to him. The wedding happened 6 months later. Simple, elegant, private, and despite the smiles visible in photographs, resentment quietly survived beneath the surface, especially inside Soo-min. She attended. She smiled. She congratulated the couple, and secretly began planning. Not revenge. Not yet. Something slower. More patient. The destruction of trust. Years passed. Naya adjusted to married life surprisingly well. Although becoming part of the Kang family proved difficult, no matter how polite she remained, someone always found fault. If she spoke too much, she was disrespectful. If she remained quiet, she was arrogant. If she succeeded, she was lucky. If she struggled, she was inadequate. The standards constantly changed. Yet Naya never complained. Because she understood something important. Her marriage wasn't with the family. Her marriage was with Min Jae. And every night, when the mansion grew quiet, he reminded her of that. One evening she sat alone on their balcony overlooking Seoul. The city lights shimmered below. The wind played gently through her hair. Min Jae approached from behind, placed his jacket around her shoulders, and sat beside her. You had another difficult dinner. It wasn't a question. She smiled faintly. They were trying. No. He shook his head. They were pretending. She laughed softly. You always notice. I notice everything involving you. The words were simple, but they carried weight. Because Min Jae rarely expressed emotion openly, his actions spoke louder. And Naya understood every one of them. For a while they sat quietly. Comfortable silence. Comfortable love. The kind that takes years to build. What neither realized was that someone inside the mansion watched from a distant window. Someone whose jealousy had become obsession. Soo-min. And her patience was finally ending. Months later, the first stage of her plan began. Small rumors. Minor misunderstandings. Anonymous messages. Nothing serious enough to create immediate conflict. Only enough to plant seeds. A misplaced photograph. A suspicious comment. An overheard conversation. Each carefully designed to make Naya appear questionable. Yet every attempt failed. Because Min Jae trusted his wife completely. Which only frustrated Soo-min more. This decision would soon backfire. One afternoon she sat inside a luxury cafe with 2 distant relatives. The conversation centered entirely around Naya. Why won't he leave her? One relative asked. Soo-min stirred her coffee slowly. Because he trusts her. Then destroy the trust. Silence followed. Then Soo-min smiled. Not warmly. Not kindly. But with the confidence of someone convinced she couldn't lose. And that smile would eventually change everything. Weeks later, the photograph was created. The trap was set. And the family believed victory was finally within reach. But they had overlooked one critical detail. The man they were trying to deceive was already watching. And while everyone celebrated too early, Min Jae quietly started collecting evidence. Not because he doubted Naya, because he doubted everyone else. Meanwhile, something unexpected happened. Something that would raise the emotional stakes higher than anyone imagined. Naya discovered a secret. A beautiful secret. One she wasn't ready to share yet. A secret growing quietly inside her. And before long, that secret would become the center of an even bigger lie. But she had no idea danger was already moving toward her. And neither did the child she carried. The storm had only begun. The storm began so quietly that almost nobody recognized it. At first, the mansion simply felt different. Not hostile, not openly, just colder. And the person who felt that change most was Naya. For 4 years, she had learned how to survive inside the Kong family. She understood their moods, their habits, their silent judgments. She knew when criticism was coming even before words were spoken. But this felt different. Something was changing beneath the surface. Something she couldn't quite identify. The first sign appeared during breakfast. His mother barely acknowledged her presence. His aunt refused to make eye contact. His cousins whispered among themselves before suddenly becoming silent whenever she entered a room. Normally Naya would have ignored it. But the behavior continued, day after day, until eventually even the staff noticed. Yet nobody explained why. Nobody confronted her. Nobody accused her directly. It was as if everyone shared a secret she didn't know. And what she didn't know was that the photograph had already begun circulating privately among relatives. Each time it was shown, the story grew larger, more dramatic, more convincing, more poisonous. By the end of the week, many family members no longer viewed it as a possibility. They viewed it as fact. Meanwhile, Su Min watched everything unfold with satisfaction. Years of resentment were finally producing results. Every whispered conversation, every suspicious glance, every uncomfortable silence, all of it fed her confidence. The plan was working, or at least she believed it was. Because what Su Min still didn't realize was that Min Jae had already started investigating. And every day brought him closer to the truth. One evening he sat alone inside his private office. The room remained silent except for the soft hum of computer screens. Across multiple monitors appeared security footage, financial records, phone logs, hotel reports, everything connected to the alleged affair. He reviewed every detail carefully, patiently, methodically, the way predators study prey, the way powerful men uncover lies. And the deeper he dug, the uglier the truth became. Because this wasn't random gossip. It wasn't misunderstanding. It wasn't concern. It was a coordinated attack. Someone had invested time, money, resources, planning. The realization made his jaw tighten, not because he feared losing his wife. That possibility never existed, but because someone inside his own family had targeted her. And that was something he would never forgive. Meanwhile, Naya sat alone inside a hospital waiting room. Her hands rested nervously in her lap. Her heartbeat felt unusually loud. Minutes later, her name was called. The examination didn't take long. But when the doctor smiled, her entire world changed. Congratulations. The word felt surreal, almost impossible. For a few seconds, she simply stared, unable to speak, unable to move, unable to fully process what she had heard. Then tears slowly filled her eyes. Not tears of sadness, not fear, pure happiness. She was pregnant. A tiny life had begun growing inside her. A child created from love. A child she and Min Jae had quietly dreamed about for years. For a moment, every problem disappeared. Every family conflict vanished. Every uncomfortable dinner became irrelevant. Because suddenly nothing mattered more than this. Her baby. Their baby. The doctor continued speaking, offering advice, explaining timelines, discussing health precautions. But Naya barely heard any of it. Her mind had already drifted elsewhere. She imagined Min Jae's reaction, his expression, his smile, the way his eyes softened whenever children appeared. Most people never saw that side of him. But she did. And she knew exactly how happy he would be. Yet despite her excitement, she made an unexpected decision. She wouldn't tell him immediately. Not because she wanted secrecy. Because she wanted something special. The family atmosphere felt tense, uncomfortable, strange. She wanted to wait for a peaceful moment. A beautiful moment. A memory worthy of such important news. What she didn't know was that someone else overheard part of the appointment. One of the relatives. A woman who happened to leave another consultation room nearby. And unfortunately, that relative reported everything directly to Su Min. The moment Su Min heard the news, a dangerous smile appeared. Because she immediately saw an opportunity. A terrible opportunity. One capable of causing even more damage. And within hours, a new lie began spreading. A lie far worse than the first one. The rumor claimed Naya was pregnant, but not with Min Jae's child. According to the story being created, the baby belonged to the mysterious man from the photograph. The accusation was absurd, cruel, heartless. Yet Su Min understood something about gossip. Facts rarely matter. Emotion does. And nothing generates outrage faster than betrayal. especially when powerful families become involved. Meanwhile, Naya remained completely unaware. She spent the following days quietly protecting her secret, reading parenting books, saving ultrasound photos, smiling whenever nobody was looking. For the first time in weeks, she felt hopeful. Hopeful that things would improve. Hopeful that family tensions would eventually disappear. Hopeful that her child would grow up surrounded by love. Even Min Jae noticed. For several seconds he simply stared, and despite everything happening around them, he found himself smiling. "You look beautiful." Naya laughed softly. "You say that every time." "Because it's true every time." For a brief moment, everything felt normal again. But peace never lasts long inside stories like this. As the evening continued, whispers started, small at first, then louder, then impossible to ignore. People looked toward Naya, then toward each other, then away. Conversations abruptly stopped whenever she approached. Confusion slowly replaced her happiness. Something was wrong. Very wrong. She could feel it. Unfortunately, the worst moment was still coming. An hour later his aunt approached her. The woman smiled politely. Too politely. "I heard congratulations are in order." Naya froze. Instantly, her heart skipped. Had someone discovered the pregnancy? "Excuse me." The aunt's smile widened. "Don't worry. Secrets never stay hidden forever." Something about her tone felt wrong. Dangerous. Mocking. Before Naya could respond, another relative joined. Then another. Then another. Suddenly she found herself surrounded. And every face carried the same expression. Judgment. One cousin laughed quietly. Another shook her head dramatically. Then someone finally said it. "The baby must look just like his father." The room went silent. Naya stared, confused, then horrified, because she understood exactly what they were implying. The photograph, the rumors, the accusations, everything connected instantly. For several seconds, she couldn't speak. Not because she lacked words, because she couldn't believe anyone would be so cruel. And that's when the humiliation began. People whispered openly. Questions became accusations. Accusations became attacks. The very people who should have protected her instead treated her like a criminal. A woman carrying her husband's child stood surrounded by people celebrating her pain. And yet, she didn't cry. She didn't beg. She didn't defend herself. She simply stood there, quietly, dignified, strong. Because deep inside she knew something. Min Jae knew her. Really knew her. The world might doubt her. His family might doubt her. But her husband wouldn't. At least that's what she believed. Then she looked across the ballroom and saw him, watching, expression unreadable, silent, still, cold. For the first time, a tiny crack appeared inside her confidence. Because he didn't intervene. He didn't stop the conversation. He didn't defend her. He simply watched. And although viewers would know why, Naya didn't. What she didn't know was that Min Jae was deliberately allowing events to continue. Not because he doubted her. Because every accusation provided evidence. Every lie revealed another participant. Every attack exposed another guilty person. He was building a case. A perfect case. But from Naya's perspective, it felt like distance. And distance hurt. That night she returned home emotionally exhausted. For hours she sat alone inside their bedroom. Thinking, wondering, questioning. Could he really trust her? Did he know something she didn't? Why was he acting differently? The questions kept multiplying. Meanwhile, downstairs, Min Jae received another report from his investigators. And this report changed everything. Because for the first time, a name appeared. Not a suspect. Not a possibility. A name. Someone directly connected to the conspiracy. Someone helping coordinate the false evidence. The discovery shocked even him. Not because he knew the person. Because of who that person worked for. Every trail led toward one individual. Disappointment. Because despite everything, he had loved his sister. Protected her. Supported her. Trusted her. And she had repaid that trust by targeting the woman he loved most. That betrayal cut deeper than he expected. Yet he remained calm. Because exposing her required patience. And patience was something Min Jae possessed in abundance. Meanwhile, Su Min grew increasingly confident. The family believed her narrative. The rumors continued spreading. Even their mother had become fully convinced. Everything appeared perfect. She felt victorious. But what she didn't know was that victory had already slipped away. She simply hadn't realized it yet. Days later, another family gathering was announced. Officially, it was a business meeting. Unofficially, everyone knew its true purpose. The future of Min Jae's marriage. Relatives expected confrontation. His mother expected divorce. Sumin expected triumph. And Naya expected disappointment. But nobody expected what was actually coming. Because while the family prepared accusations, Min Jae prepared evidence. And hidden inside secured files sat surveillance footage, financial transfers, voice recordings, private messages, everything necessary to destroy every lie. The trap was almost ready. The people who created it simply hadn't noticed they had become trapped themselves. And before the gathering arrived, one final revelation would emerge. A revelation powerful enough to change the entire family forever. Because Min Jae was about to discover something else. Something beautiful. Something emotional. Something involving Naya's secret. The secret she had desperately wanted to share herself. The secret growing quietly beneath her heart. Their child. And when he learned the truth, the consequences for everyone who hurt her would become far more severe. Because attacking his wife was one thing, but attacking the mother of his child? That was something he would never forgive. The morning of the family meeting arrived with an unusual stillness. The Kong mansion looked as elegant as ever. The marble floors gleamed beneath crystal chandeliers. The gardens outside remained perfectly maintained. Everything appeared normal. But beneath that polished surface, a storm was waiting. By noon, relatives began arriving one after another. Luxury vehicles lined the driveway. Family members entered the mansion carrying expressions of anticipation. Some looked concerned. Others looked curious. A few looked excited. Especially those who believed they were about to witness the end of Min Jae's marriage. Among them stood Su Min. Calm. Confident. Victorious. At least she thought she was. For weeks, she had watched her plan unfold exactly as intended. The photograph had spread. The rumors had multiplied. The accusations had become accepted as truth. Even their mother now believed Naya had betrayed the family. Everything pointed toward one conclusion: divorce. And soon, she believed, Naya would disappear forever. Meanwhile, upstairs, Naya stood alone inside her bedroom. Her hands rested gently against her stomach. The secret she carried felt heavier than ever. Not because of fear, because of uncertainty. She had imagined revealing her pregnancy differently. A romantic dinner. A quiet evening. A special memory. Instead, she now found herself preparing for a family meeting that seemed designed to humiliate her. The situation hurt. Not because strangers doubted her. Because people who should have known better doubted her. Yet despite everything, she remained calm. Because one thought continued giving her strength. Min Jae, the man she loved, the man she trusted, the man whose heart she understood better than anyone else. Even if she didn't understand his recent behavior, even if his distance had wounded her, she still believed in him. And that belief was about to be rewarded. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. The door opened. Min Jae entered. For several seconds neither spoke. The silence felt complicated. Heavy. Emotional. Then he stepped forward. His eyes settled on her face. And for the first time in weeks, the coldness disappeared. Only briefly. But she saw it. Concern. Affection. Love. The emotions flashed through his expression before disappearing again. Are you ready? As though carrying words he wasn't yet ready to reveal. The family conference room was already full. Every seat occupied. Every eye watching. The atmosphere felt tense enough to break. When Min Jae and Naya entered together, whispers immediately spread. His mother sat at the head of the table. Beside her sat Su Min, perfectly composed. Completely unaware disaster was approaching. As everyone settled into silence, his mother spoke first. Her voice remained firm, formal, controlled. Thank you all for attending. Nobody responded. The tension only deepened. She looked toward Naya, then toward her son. Finally, she continued. Recent events have created serious concerns regarding this family. The room remained silent. Questions have been raised regarding trust. Silence. Regarding loyalty. Silence. Regarding marriage. Every word felt deliberate, carefully chosen, like a prosecutor preparing a case. Then she turned fully toward Min Jae. Today we need answers. Across the room, several relatives nodded. Others exchanged knowing glances. Everyone believed they knew what was coming. Everyone except the two people sitting at the center of the storm. One was innocent. The other was prepared. And what happens next changes everything. For several moments Min Jae said nothing. He simply sat there. Calm. Patient. Unreadable. The same expression that had frustrated his enemies for years. His mother interpreted the silence as hesitation. Su Min interpreted it as pain. The relatives interpreted it as uncertainty. Only Naya understood something different. She recognized that look, that terrifying calm, and suddenly, a strange feeling settled inside her chest. Something wasn't right. Not with him. With everyone else. Then his mother opened a folder. The infamous photograph appeared. The image everyone had been discussing for weeks. The image responsible for all the accusations. The image designed to destroy a marriage. She slid it across the table. Would anyone like to explain this? Immediately, several relatives began speaking, one after another, sharing opinions, offering judgments, repeating rumors. Every accusation sounded more dramatic than the last. The supposed affair, the suspicious meetings, the pregnancy speculation, the embarrassment to the family, the betrayal, the shame. For nearly 20 minutes they spoke, and throughout the entire discussion, Min Jae remained silent, allowing them to continue, allowing them to expose themselves, allowing them to reveal exactly where they stood. Eventually the room grew quiet. Everyone had finished speaking. Every accusation had been made. Every lie had been repeated. And finally, his mother looked toward him. Min Jae. Her voice softened. You need to make a decision. The room collectively held its breath. Su Min nearly smiled. This was it. The moment she had been waiting for. The end of Naya's place in the family. But then, something unexpected happened. Min Jae stood up. Slowly. Calmly. And instead of speaking, he picked up a remote control. The large screen mounted on the wall flickered to life. Confusion spread immediately. Several relatives exchanged nervous glances. Su Min frowned. This wasn't part of the plan. The first video appeared. Security footage. A private restaurant. Date and time clearly displayed. The room fell silent. Then people noticed something. The timestamp. It matched the day of the alleged affair. And sitting inside the restaurant, laughing together, holding hands, was Min Jae and Naya. The exact same time she supposedly met another man. Gasps filled the room. Confusion exploded instantly. His mother leaned forward. Several relatives stared in disbelief. Meanwhile, Su Min felt her stomach tighten. For the first time, fear appeared. But Min Jae wasn't finished. Not even close. The second recording appeared. This time from a hotel security camera. Different angle. Different perspective. The same day. The same photograph. And suddenly the truth became obvious. The image had been manipulated. The mysterious man wasn't meeting Naya. He had merely walked past her. The photograph had been cropped intentionally, edited intentionally, created intentionally. The room erupted. People began talking over one another. Shock spread across every face. Except Min Jae's. His expression never changed. Because he had spent weeks preparing this moment. Then came the financial records. Payments. Transfers. Transactions. Thousands of dollars moving between accounts. Every transfer connected directly to the creation of the fake evidence. The room grew quieter. The atmosphere shifted. What had begun as accusations now looked like a criminal investigation. And it was only getting worse. Then came the phone recordings. Voice messages. Private conversations. Secret discussions. One by one, every lie collapsed. Every excuse vanished. Every participant became exposed. Several relatives turned pale. Others lowered their heads. Some attempted denial. None succeeded. Because the evidence was overwhelming. Absolute. Undeniable. And then, the final recording played. The recording that changed everything. The moment the speaker's voice filled the room, silence exploded. Because everyone recognized it instantly. Su Min. Her own voice. Clear. Sharp. Unmistakable. Discussing the plan. Coordinating the rumors. Arranging the fake messages. Manipulating family members. Celebrating the possibility of destroying Naya's marriage. Every word echoed through the room. Every sentence became another nail in the coffin. And when the recording finally ended, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Nobody breathed. The silence felt endless. Then all eyes turned towards Su Min. Her face had gone completely white. The confidence was gone. The arrogance was gone. The certainty was gone. Only panic remained. Pure panic. No, she whispered. This isn't. But nobody believed her anymore. Not after hearing her own voice. Not after seeing the evidence. Not after learning the truth. His mother stared at her daughter. Shock slowly transforming into heartbreak. You did this. The question sounded broken. Almost fragile. Su Min's eyes filled with tears. She searched desperately for support. For sympathy. For rescue. But nobody came. Because for the first time, everyone understood exactly what she had done. Years of resentment. Years of prejudice. years of manipulation. All exposed. All undeniable. And suddenly the family realized something even worse. The woman they had spent weeks attacking was innocent. Completely innocent. Every accusation, every insult, every judgment, every humiliation. Unjustified. The realization filled the room with shame. Especially for his mother. Tears slowly appeared in her eyes. Not because of Su Min. Because of Naya. The woman she had failed. The woman she had wrongly condemned. The woman she had helped hurt. For a long moment nobody spoke. Then his mother stood, turned toward Naya, and bowed her head. The gesture shocked everyone, including Naya. I am sorry. Her voice trembled. I should have trusted you. More tears followed. I failed you. The sincerity in her words stunned the room. Because powerful people rarely apologize, especially publicly. Yet here she was, admitting her mistake, accepting responsibility. Naya looked at her quietly. Pain still lingered, but bitterness didn't, because bitterness had never lived inside her heart. And that's what made her different. While everyone else focused on revenge, she focused on peace. But the emotional payoff wasn't over. Not even close. Because Min Jae still had something left to say. The most important thing of all. The room gradually settled. Every eye turned toward him once again. Slowly, he walked around the table, past the relatives, past his mother, past his sister, until he reached Naya. Then he stopped, looked directly at her, and gently took her hand. The gesture seemed simple, but its meaning shook the room. Then he spoke, his voice calm, cold, powerful. The woman beside me. The entire family listened. Is my wife. Silence. His grip tightened slightly. And from today forward, his eyes swept across the room, stopping briefly on every person who participated. Anyone who disrespects her is choosing to lose me too. The words landed like thunder, because everyone understood exactly what they meant. Min Jae wasn't asking. He wasn't negotiating. He wasn't seeking approval. He was establishing a boundary, an absolute boundary, and nobody doubted he would enforce it. The room remained frozen, yet he still wasn't finished. Because there was one final truth left to reveal. A truth nobody expected. Min Jae turned toward Naya. His expression softened. Completely. The hardness vanished. Only love remained. Then he smiled. A genuine smile. Rare enough to shock the room by itself. And quietly he said, you should tell them. Confusion appeared across Naya's face. Then realization. Then emotion. Tears immediately filled her eyes. Happy tears. Beautiful tears. The kind impossible to hide. She looked around the room, took a breath, and placed a hand on her stomach. The silence became absolute. Then she spoke. I'm pregnant. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Nobody blinked. For several seconds the room forgot how to function. Then the truth settled. The innocent woman they had attacked. The woman they had humiliated. The woman they had accused of carrying another man's child. Was carrying the future heir of the Kong family. Min Jae stepped beside her, his hand gently covering hers, protecting both mother and child. And suddenly several relatives looked physically sick. The guilt hit all at once. Every insult felt heavier. Every accusation felt uglier. Every action became impossible to justify. Meanwhile, Su Min completely broke down. The realization shattered whatever remained of her confidence. Not only had she failed, she had nearly harmed her unborn niece or nephew. The consequences were devastating. Within weeks, changes swept through the family. Relatives involved in the conspiracy lost access to family businesses. Financial privileges disappeared. Positions vanished. Influence evaporated. Actions finally carried consequences. As for Su Min, she was removed from every major family decision. Not out of revenge. Out of accountability. Trust once broken requires rebuilding. And rebuilding would take years. Perhaps longer. His mother spent months trying to repair the damage she caused. Slowly. Patiently. Genuinely. And unlike many stories, Naya never sought revenge. She never demanded punishment. She never celebrated anyone's downfall. Because peace mattered more than victory. Meanwhile, her relationship with Min Jae became stronger than ever. The scandal that was supposed to destroy them had instead revealed something important. The depth of their trust. The strength of their love. The certainty of their commitment. One evening several months later, they stood together on the balcony overlooking Seoul. The same balcony where countless conversations had taken place. The city lights sparkled below. The wind moved softly around them. Naya rested comfortably against him. His hand rested gently upon her growing belly. For a while, neither spoke. They simply enjoyed the moment. Then she looked up. Do you regret any of it? He frowned. Any of what? The trouble, the drama, everything. Min Jae smiled softly, then shook his head. No. His hand remained over their child. And after a brief pause, he said the words she would remember forever. They wanted me to love you less. Tears instantly filled her eyes. Not from sadness, from happiness. Because she already knew what he would say next. He smiled. The same rare smile that belonged only to her. They only made me realize how much I do. And beneath the lights of Seoul, surrounded not by power or wealth, but by love, they stood together. Stronger than betrayal. Stronger than rumors. Stronger than fear. Because real love isn't measured by easy days. It's revealed by difficult ones. And when the entire world tried to pull them apart, they chose each other. Again, and again, and again. True love cannot survive without trust. Status, money, influence, and family pressure mean nothing when compared to genuine loyalty. Naya never fought to prove her innocence because she trusted the man she married. And Min Jae never doubted her because love built on trust is stronger than any lie. In the end, betrayal exposed itself, while loyalty revealed its true power. If you made it this far, let us know where you're watching from and comment your favorite moment below, like this video, and subscribe to @Physial_Threads for more emotional Mafia love stories.